Have you ever wondered how a simple rock can be transformed into the material that supports bridges, buildings, and entire cities? Behind every bag of cement lies an extreme industrial process, where mountains are crushed, minerals are melted at infernal temperatures, and gigantic machines work tirelessly to create the foundation of modern infrastructure. Today, we are going to enter the heart of one of the most powerful industries on the planet, and discover how the material that holds the world we know together is made. The origin of it all lies in a place that looks as if it were taken from a futuristic movie, an industrial setting of monumental proportions where nature and technology meet in their most brutal and beautiful form at the same time. We are talking about an open-pit quarry, a lunar landscape carved by the human hand, where enormous limestone walls rise like sleeping giants awaiting their destiny. This seemingly ordinary rock is in fact the pillar upon which all modern construction rests. It is loaded with calcium, silica, aluminum and iron, the elements that, after a series of almost alchemical industrial processes, will become the foundation of our cities, of our lives. But obtaining this stone is not as simple as bending down and picking it up from the ground. Nothing in this industry is casual or improvised. First, entire teams of engineers and geologists analyze the deposit for weeks, sometimes months. They drill samples, carry out mineral composition studies, map every centimeter of the terrain. Because although all rocks may look the same at first glance, the reality is far more complex. Some layers contain an ideal concentration of minerals, while others are simply not suitable for producing quality cement. The best layers, those that contain the perfect mix of chemical components, are often hidden beneath meters and meters of less useful material, like a geological treasure waiting to be discovered. To access them, brute force is employed, but brute force calculated with millimetric precision. Enormous drilling rigs come into action, machines the size of small buildings that pierce solid rock as if it were butter. These drills create a precise grid of holes that extends across the quarry wall, each hole perfectly aligned with the next, each one with the exact depth calculated by computers that know every characteristic of the rock. Inside each of those holes, explosives are placed with almost surgical precision. We are not talking about dynamite placed at random. Blasting specialists calculate the exact amount of explosive needed, the type of detonator, the ignition sequence. Each explosion must follow the previous one in precise milliseconds so that the rock fragments in the correct way, without wasting material, without creating blocks that are too large or too small. When everything is ready, when every cable has been checked twice, when every safety measure is in place, the operators withdraw to a safe distance, sometimes several kilometers away, and the detonation is activated. What happens then is a spectacle of epic proportions. In a matter of seconds, the mountain violently fragments into a cloud of dust and debris that rises into the sky. The sound is deafening, a thunderclap that reverberates for kilometers around. Hundreds of thousands of tons of rock, sometimes millions, break loose simultaneously, transforming the landscape in an instant. What moments before was a solid wall is now a sea of fragments of all sizes. There, in the midst of that controlled chaos, the true journey of cement begins. After the explosion, when the dust begins to settle and the safety team confirms that it is safe to approach, gigantic excavators with buckets the size of an entire car come into action. These machines, which weigh as much as several elephants combined, pick up the dislodged blocks with surprising delicacy for their size. The operators, seated in climate-controlled cabins filled with screens and controls, maneuver with millimetric precision, selecting the appropriate rocks and avoiding unwanted material. These rocks are loaded onto mining trucks that are true steel monsters, vehicles with capacities of up to 90 tons, designed to transport loads that would cause any normal road to collapse. Their tires are taller than a person. Their engines generate more power than dozens of conventional automobiles combined. These vehicles travel the route to the processing plant, carrying with them not just stones, but the future of thousands of buildings, roads and bridges. What was once part of a mountain that had remained in place for millions of years is now in motion, on its way to becoming the backbone of civilization. But there is still a fundamental problem that must be solved. Those rocks are still enormous, irregular and heavy, some the size of a refrigerator, others the size of an entire car. They cannot enter the industrial process directly as they are. First, they must be reduced, broken down, transformed into something more manageable. The first stop in this transformation process is a gigantic primary crusher, a piece of equipment the size of a two-story house that receives the rocks directly from the trucks. This mechanical monster operates with brutal but effective simplicity. Jaws and hammers weighing dozens of tons move with relentless force, crushing the blocks until they become more manageable fragments. The noise is deafening, a constant roar of metal against stone that can be heard kilometers away. The result of this first violent process is pieces about the size of a tennis ball, perhaps a little larger. But even that is still too large for what comes next. That is why the fragments go through a second, much more refined process that we call grinding. Through conveyor belts that stretch for hundreds of meters, the material enters enormous mills, giant rotating cylinders where it is crushed without rest for hours. Some of these mills use heavy rollers that press the material against hard surfaces. Others employ thousands of steel balls that spin and collide with each other at high speed, pulverizing everything in their path. The combination of constant impact, friction, and perpetual rotation transforms the fragments into a coarse powder similar to flour, but much heavier and denser. The finer this powder is, the better the final cement will be. A finer material mixes better with other components, reacts more uniformly during subsequent chemical processes, and produces a stronger, more durable cement. In addition, at this stage, impurities that could compromise the final quality are removed, moisture is precisely controlled, and a perfectly stable base is ensured for the next steps. Now the material no longer looks like stone at all, but it retains all its structural power, all its capacity to become something extraordinary. At this point in the process, we still do not have cement, properly speaking. We only have a mixture of pulverized minerals, a powder that contains potential but still cannot support any structure. To turn it into the material that literally holds entire cities together, it is necessary to create an exact recipe, a formula that has been perfected over decades of research and development. Through gigantic silos that can store thousands of tons and automated ducts that extend like arteries throughout the plant, three key components are combined with mathematical precision. Ground limestone, which makes up most of the mixture, clay, which provides silica and aluminum, and small amounts of iron ore that adjust the final chemical properties. Depending on the specific type of cement to be produced, whether it will be for construction in cold or hot climates, whether it needs to set quickly or slowly, whether it must withstand marine environments or extreme conditions, special additives are also added that adjust its strength, setting speed or behavior in particular situations. All of this mixing process takes place in completely closed systems, controlled from command rooms that look like space control centers, where operators monitor every variable in real time through dozens of screens. Precision is millimetric, absolutely critical, because a small error in the proportion, a deviation of barely 1 or 2 percentage points, can cause the cement to lose significant strength, crack prematurely, or simply not work correctly when it is used in construction. Before moving on to the next step, the mixture passes through enormous homogenizers, special silos that rotate for hours, sometimes full days, mixing the material over and over until every microscopic particle is distributed in an absolutely perfect and uniform way throughout the mass. Now comes the most impressive and dramatic moment of the entire cement manufacturing process. The pulverized and perfectly homogenized mixture enters one of the most imposing pieces of equipment in the entire heavy industry worldwide, the rotary kiln, a marvel of engineering that combines monumental size with extraordinary precision. This reinforced steel cylinder can measure up to 100 meters in length, imagine an entire soccer field, and several meters in diameter. It rotates slowly, constantly, while tilting slightly downward, allowing the material to move gradually from one end to the other. Inside it, the material passes through different carefully controlled thermal zones, each with a specific function in the chemical transformation that is about to occur. First, it enters a drying zone where all residual moisture is eliminated. Then it moves on to the calcination phase, where the temperature rises dramatically and the limestone begins to release carbon dioxide in a fundamental chemical process, transforming into calcium oxide. But the most spectacular part occurs in the hottest zone of the kiln, in its burning heart, where temperatures exceed 1,450 degrees Celsius, hotter than the lava of many volcanoes. There, in that controlled inferno, the minerals partially melt and react with one another in a chemical ballet of absolute precision, forming small, solid granules called clinker. Clinker is the true essence of cement. Small, hard spheres about the size of marbles, loaded with potential strength, containing the exact chemical structure that will allow the final material to support tons and tons of weight without breaking or deforming. When the clinker leaves the kiln, still glowing red-hot, it must be cooled in a rapid and controlled manner. Gigantic fans reduce its temperature from more than 1,000 degrees to less than 100 in just a few minutes, locking in its internal structure. At this stage, the environmental challenge is also addressed. Cement production generates large amounts of CO2, which is why many plants now use carbon capture, alternative fuels, and more efficient processes to reduce their impact without losing quality. Once cooled, the clinker, now resembling dark, compact gravel, enters its final stage. In enormous tubular mills, some up to 20 meters long, it is ground once again with extremely high precision. Thousands of steel balls rotate endlessly, reducing the material until it becomes a powder so fine that it surpasses even the texture of common flour. At this point, gypsum is added, a key component that controls the setting time. Without it, cement would harden almost immediately when mixed with water, becoming unusable on site. Then the material undergoes rigorous laboratory testing where strength, fineness, and composition are analyzed. Only material that meets all standards is approved. Finally, it is stored in silos, bagged or loaded in bulk. On the construction site, when mixed with water, sand and gravel, that powder becomes concrete, giving rise to roads, buildings, bridges, and all the infrastructure that sustains the modern world.